Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Now today we've got something a bit different in which I'm going to be going over my top 5 games for integrated graphics. This can be applied to any computer that is maybe underpowered or old, just a good list of games that can be played on most systems as long as they're either somewhat relevant or maybe they're just a little bit underpowered. But either way, you should be able to run them just fine. This was inspired by a friend who has gone off to study away from home and he's just got his laptop with him. And anyone who's in a similar situation, whether you've just got an underpowered computer, or you're taking maybe a school laptop away, or you're using your grandma's desktop. Anything like that, and you'll be good to go. And now obviously your list of favourite games will probably be different, but if you've been watching my videos before, you kind of know what I like, and you might find this list helpful with something that's up your alley as well. So I've got 5 games, each one's from a different genre, just so I don't bundle them up too much, and hopefully they will have a good variation and give you something different to play with each game. So let's get started. We're going to start out with the first-person shooter genre. So my choice for the FPS is Far Cry 2. You can pick it up for $10 Canadian on Steam, and it's a great shooter. It's got a decent story, really enjoyable action, and quite a unique setting which hasn't really been seen in many other games. It was released back in 2008, so it's just on 10 years old now, but it has a lot to do and it will keep you entertained for a while. It's the kind of game that feels refreshing, as if you got a game similar today, it'd be filled with microtransactions and possibly a lot of unnecessary DLC. It looks pretty good even today, and it will run really well even on older integrated graphics cards. And those fire effects just never get old. It even has multiplayer, but I doubt you'll have anyone playing it, but if you've got some friends, maybe you'll be able to team up. But you're buying it for the single player, and you'll have a great time. While it's not a perfect game, it definitely has its flaws. It's great fun overall, and I think it's perfect if you want to get your fix for first-person shooters. Next up, we're going to a real-time strategy game, and for this I'm giving it to Age of Empires 2 HD. You can find it for $21 on Steam, and it's just a classic. It's been remastered recently with some updated graphical settings, high-resolution monitor support, things like that, Steam multiplayer, and it keeps the original's charm and it will run on basically anything. You can either relive the campaigns if you're limited by your internet connection, or you can play competitive matches online with others, and there's still a huge community around the game, so you won't have any trouble there. It plays just like it did back in the day, and if you're on a bit of a hit of nostalgia, as well as just play a great strategy game, this will be the one for you. The only downside is that it is relatively expensive compared to the other games on the list. However, if you're into RTSs, and especially into Age of Empires, that $21 will be out of your mind in no time. Next, we're coming to the role-playing game, and this is where the real time sink is. So I'm giving this one to the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. You can pick it up for $12.50 on Steam. There is a $10 version, but the $12.50 comes with a bit of extra DLC, so you might as well pay the extra $2.50 and pick that up. It's my favourite game of all time, although there's definitely a strong nostalgia bias there if you've seen my video I did back on it a few months ago. It's a classic role-playing game. It's 12 years old, released back in 2006. And even though it hasn't aged as well as a lot of other games, it's still great fun, and you can spruce it up with a few mods to bring it into the modern day, or at least close enough. It has great world building and storytelling in the form of the guilds and side quests. It's got excellent role playing, and there's just a whole heck of a lot to do. If you're looking to get invested in something and eat up some hours, then this is definitely the game for that. The art style is still pretty good, and it will run pretty well on most systems, so it should be good to go. Next we have the genre that I'm calling indie/puzzle. So I'm giving this to FTL Faster Than Light. It's $10.99 on Steam, and it's just a really fun, charming little indie strategy game. It's a stellar example of a small company that's working with their limited resources to make something really, really great. It's infinitely replayable and super easy to run. It's deep, strategic, fun, and most of the time extremely challenging. There's some really creative gameplay in terms of kitting out your ship with different gear, weapons, crew, and what combinations work best, and the appealing pixel art visuals are really nice to look at, and it's basically timeless in terms of its art style. It's single player and doesn't need an online connection, so you can play it for a few minutes at a time or really get into it for a few hours. It's great fun, it's really addictive. I'd recommend it to anyone who's into strategy, space, indie, puzzle games, anything like that. Such a great game, and you can really make your own really good stories out of it. Go give it a try, you won't be disappointed. And lastly, in the genre that I'm calling competitive, is Hearthstone. So you've probably heard of it, it's Blizzard's monolithic card game. Even though it's technically free to play, a bit of money would help you in getting your card collection sorted, but if you do want to grind it out a bit, you can play without putting a cent in. Benefits here is that you can play it on your phone, tablet, PC, so if you really do have a gutter computer, then even a semi-modern smartphone will be able to run it at least somewhat okay. There's options for competitive and casual play, so if you do want to scratch that competitive itch, you can play it through there. There are player versus environment game modes, but the real fun is playing against other people and making your own decks and figuring out what works well. Myself, I never thought I'd get into a card game, but once I played it, I was just hooked, and I've been playing for at least a few years now, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. It's really easy to spend a lot of time on it, it's simple to learn, but there's actually a lot of depth to it, especially when it comes to making your own decks. The gameplay's a lot of fun, there's a few modes that are relatively varied, so you have a lot of things to do, and opening packs is way too enjoyable, and that's part of the addictive nature, but it's to be expected in a card game. So even if you don't think you're interested in card games, I'd recommend giving it a try. Like I said, it's free to play, really got nothing to lose. Give it a shot and see what you think. So that's my 5 games for integrated graphics or low power computers. I hope you guys have learnt something or thought of a game that you might want to try out. Maybe one of these games tickles your fancy. Maybe you played it back in the day like Oblivion or Age of Empires, or you've never played it at all and you just want to give it a try and you're looking for something to play on that aging hardware. So thanks for watching everyone. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for a new retrospective video. And just at the end here, I wanted to give a quick shout out to everyone who's been watching, commenting, liking, subscribing. We've just passed 200 subscribers, which is amazing. Thanks to everyone who's been, engaging and loving the videos. I've been reading all the comments, trying to reply to every single one, and it's just really cool to see people liking them and getting the feedback as well. So I look forward to making more videos in the future, and I really hope you enjoy them. Thanks for watching everyone, see you later.